Welcome back to Charm and Circumstance. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Alexis Frost Huff. And today we're tackling one of the most asked about design dilemmas: how to confidently mix styles and hardware finishes, especially in the kitchen, but also throughout your home.
Gone are the days of everything matching perfectly. Today's interiors are about personality, contrast, and curation. But doing it well, that takes strategy.
We're going to walk you through where and how to mix, the rules to know before you break, and of course, our favorite combos from matte black and aged brass to contemporary lines next to vintage shapes.
Let's get into it. From floor plans to finishing touches, function to the feeling you get walking into a room. I'm Ashley Morgan, an interior designer with a love for beautiful living and a belief that great design should tell your story. I've spent over 20 years in the industry, and now I'm pulling back the curtain on interiors, sharing insight, inspiration, and the strategy behind well-designed spaces. Expect smart design talk, refined tips, and just the right mix of polish and personality. So pour something sweet and join me for a thoughtful conversation with a generous helping of charm and circumstance. Okay, so first up, setting the foundation, what it means to mix styles. So let's start with the why. Mixing finishes or styles isn't just about being trendy. It's about creating depth and telling a story that feels authentic to you.
Exactly. Whether it's mixing modern with traditional or polished nickel with unlacquered brass, you're creating contrast in your space. The key is intentional tension, not chaos.
Yeah, so picking one dominant style and one or two supporting styles. The same with finishes. There should be a clear hero. I find that this happens so often when you're doing renovation work, of course, in your house because not everything's going to match. You have like hinges that and doorknobs that'll be one color or one finish, and then the hardware on your kitchen cabinets will be another finish, and then I don't know, the hardware on the built-ins in the living room is another finish, and then you've got to pick out a metal for the mirror in the powder room. Should it match? Should it not match? The faucets, and the door handle and the hinge. And like it just keeps snowballing, right?
Yes. Well, where do you usually start?
I don't know. I guess it depends on the feel. Like it depends on which finishes are in the existing situation, right? So like, if it was more, you either lean to a more modern style or you lean more towards, that traditional, like, rubbed brass, aged brass type. And so I don't know that I would wanna, like, really mix too much in between there. So I guess I try to, like, kinda pick a world and stick within that.
Or
What
finding
about
a
you?
dominant piece of hardware that you really like and then going with that.
What do you lean towards, or have you dealt with this
I don't know if
yourself?
I lean towards one or the other. I guess personally, I would lean towards one or the other depending on the space. But I would say it depends. Maybe the client has a piece that they already really like, and you can kind of gradually add to it. Um, and I'm like you, putting too many together, you don't know where your focal point is. So
Mhm.
having one dominant makes it look a little bit more polished and pulled together. With any design, I think just pick one and then accent it and highlight it.
Yeah. So when we go into the kitchen, and, it's like, think about how, um, our favorite topic, design in the '80s and '90s,
Favorite. Yeah, let's go there.
and how back then, the method was you would pick one finish and that was it. Like, and everything would match. just like your Laura Ashley chins in your bedroom. But nowadays, it's definitely different, and there is, absolutely the option to mix and match beautifully. Mm. So and I think that people get really nervous as they get into work it being done in their kitchens and those renovations, like, can you mix brass cabinet pulls with, chrome faucets? And then what about a black light fixture?
And I think your appliances too can kind of determine that as
Oh.
well. Once you get into your appliances, although I don't know, I kind of think of hardware as kind of like jewelry, and I know that I layer both. So as long as you do it and balance it out one way or the other, or just believe in it and go with it, I think that's important. Believe in
Yeah,
what you're doing and the choices you make.
yeah, and it's your house, so, like, you really can't screw it up
It's your
too much. If
house.
you like it, then you've you've won.
Yeah,
But,
I think.
yeah, so I think, sticking to, um, the rule of 3, right? Like, maximum of 3 different finishes. I guess, though, depending on the space, this could vary somewhat as well, right? Like
Agree. I think you have a little bit more flexibility in a larger space versus a
mhm,
smaller one when you're getting a whole shot of one space and one look and one view that
yeah,
might guide you in choosing one singular or maybe a couple because you can now get combination. So you could do a
yeah.
little bit of both. In a larger space, you could probably get away with it a little bit easier. You wouldn't notice having black or, a chrome, nickel, brass in a larger space.
Right, and you know what I was thinking too is that if it's on I think the rest of the colors make a difference as well because, if you had, brass on black, let's say, like black cabinetry or something like that, it's really gonna pop, and so it's gonna be so much more noticeable, or chrome for that matter on black. So something that's like high contrast like that versus colors that maybe blend in more, like white with chrome, or things
Hmm.
like that, then, you have more flexibility, when it's not such high contrast.
And I'm sure I have several opinions or maybe likes, dislikes, but I will say that I like hardware that stands out because it is like an accessory or
Mhm.
jewelry on something. Now,
Yeah,
again, with everything, it's balance, right?
yeah, and they're such good-looking hardware these days.
Yeah, it's so pretty.
Mhm. So there is a rule of thought that you would repeat each finish at least twice in this space, like a matte black faucet and a black window frame, or brass hardware and brass sconces. Um, I don't like I'm trying to think. I guess just in one space before I've used 3 different finishes and they were actually matched up based on, like, lighting was all brass, and then so some of the hardware was, like, a burnished bronze, and then I actually had some crystal, like, knobs too, just because it was on a lighter, cabinet, and so I didn't want knobs that matched exactly the other hardware that was dark, and then these little knobs are gonna, like, stand out. I just didn't want them to stand out that much. So, yeah, I don't know, it just totally varies, like, it's so hard to put rules on this.
Well, in design, you want repetitive, I guess, repetitive in objects or whatever you're doing in a design just shows that it's intentional, right? You're doing it over and over to
Yes.
create that unity throughout the space. But then there's also something beautiful about design when you actually, it looks lived in. So it's
100%.
intentional yet unintentional.
Yeah.
So having something you love and then pairing something, new with something antique. And we talked a little bit about that, I think, last time, even though it was
Mhm.
mid 80s, 90s, and most of our conversation. Like, as long as you have things that unify together, but also express personality, I think those are the best spaces.
Totally. Let's talk about style beyond finishes. So, you're a pro at mixing vintage charm with streamlined modern. Alexis, what's your approach?
My approach, again, is start with something that you love, as always. Um, and a balance between, like you referred to, vintage with modern, and then you have a more traditional vibe. I honestly think there's something beautiful about collaborating the two because with any good design, you're going to get a reaction of the space. And having a contrast, I think that adds interest too. So I guess just
Totally.
finding a way to, again, I think I overuse the word balance, but I think there is an
I don't
aspect
know
of
that you can overuse the word balance.
maybe not. It's just finding it has to be intentional, right? So
Yes.
I think with intentionality comes balance. You know what you're
Mhm.
trying to achieve. So if you're going
Mhm.
to incorporate, if you have a traditional home and you want it to be modern on the inside, obviously you need to take that extra step to go modern. And then you can
Mhm.
sprinkle in traditional vibe, along the way if you
Right.
like.
Yeah, because you could have a total traditional, like, foyer even with a lucite modern table, right? And
Yeah.
yet some antique chairs, next to it, and it is all about the balance and the surprise. I mean, like, those little type of surprise elements, like that then become a focal point.
I think that's my favorite design sometimes. Like,
Mhm.
I would say 100% I'm more traditional, but there is a deep appreciation for a traditional home, and you walk in and it's completely clean lines and modern, or vice
Mhm.
versa, a
Mhm.
modern home architecturally, and you walk in and, it's a little bit more warm and loose, I guess, than
Yes.
the exterior. I think there's something, and I think that's design too by definition. Like, it's
Mhm.
supposed to be exciting and creative and
Yeah.
capture your attention.
Yes. And, even a mix of art, like that alone can, um, be like the surprise element, I
I
think.
agree. Well, a
Like
traditional
having you could
space.
have like the quintessential hunting scene,
Yes.
and, then something abstract and modern next to it. Like, I don't know, I love that
And again, it's that
juxtaposition.
juxtaposition. Yeah, like, and going forward, like a traditional space and having a modern piece of artwork, it almost kind of cleans up the space, tightens it up maybe a little bit.
Mhm.
If that's the right word. In my mind, I'm visualizing it, but it's again another contrast, interest.
Yeah. And simple things like a modern kitchen can still have vintage art or traditional crown molding, even. The transitional furniture really serves as that bridge piece between the two styles. So it's always about when you have the two different styles, what's the bridge? Is it going to be color? Is it going to be pattern? And like you were saying, that repetitive, aspect of whatever element it is that you're using to pull everything together and make it look intentional and like this wasn't just a mistake.
Right. It makes me excited. I wanna start a space for myself.
Okay, so let's talk about blending through the home, creating that cohesion without monotony. Once people nail the kitchen, they will often ask, "What about the rest of my house?" And does that exact style, need to be copied over in every room?
I'm interested on your thoughts, because I don't know that it has to carry over. I
No.
mean, I think if you want a little bit of interest now, a lot of people like the cohesion.
Mhm.
So that would be, I guess a semi not easy one to do, but in terms of color, pattern,
Yeah.
textiles, etc.
I guess it also depends on the layout of the house too. Like if you're dealing with the newer homes that are so much more open plan where the downstairs is literally one giant room, that is the kitchen and the living room and the dining room and it's like all together, then yes, I would say that's all it all needs to be cohesive and more or less
Agree.
treated like one room, because you don't have 4 walls around any one space. But if it is a traditional house with 4 walls around the rooms, then I think it's so much more fun to, especially in these days of like color drenching, and there's just so much color out there and so much you can do. So why not make one room, really moody and darker, and it's that environment, and then you can like walk from that environment into the lighter, more sunny environment, and it serves a different purpose. And I think that's would be so much more fun. You have like these different places you get to visit, all along the way as you just like walk through your house. Am I in the moody mood or am I in a mood for sunlight today?
It's totally gonna pull out that vocabulary word mood. That's like the word of the season, right? But
Hmm.
it's totally true because within each space, you can create a different, another trendy word, vibe, depending on what you do in that space.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, for example, like your dining room, like the lighting, the color, what kind of parties or entertaining do you do? Because that can
Hmm.
kind of set the tone for the entire palette.
Yeah.
Which I agree with you. I like the idea of having different rooms that evoke a different emotion or feeling.
Hmm. And dining rooms are almost like the next level of powder room. Like the powder room is that one room that you just like no holds barred. Like you just go nuts, do the thing that you would be scared to death to do in any other room in your house because it's so small and you're barely ever in there. And so it
You
gets
can
to be
rip it
this like,
apart easily if you need
yeah,
to do it.
yeah, and it gets to be, like, this fun little space, so then I think now the dining room is, like, the next step. So you do play it a little safer with the dining room. It's obviously more of a showpiece than anything because people don't really use dining rooms on the daily basis, but make it dramatic and fun and, like, something different and not just that everything that's expected. I think that's, like, where I am right now. I wanna do things that are unexpected, not to be, like, shocking or off the wall type, like, crazy, but that's what makes design so fun, is delivering something that is, unexpected.
To agree. Yeah, you wanna have something it's just like, if you have a favorite shirt, patterned shirt or sweater or headband or whatever that might be, and you get excited to put it on. That's the same with your interiors too. And I think it's also a great, um you can also look at your say, your dining room, like you were saying, and mix up different elements so that you can continually create a different space within that one singular, space.
Yeah. Um, Going back to when we were talking about, does everything have to coordinate across the house? And especially if you have that divided up home where, you can do different colors in each of these individual rooms, I do still think it's important to go through and like create that whole house palette, like do it intentionally thinking even if rooms are in separate corners of the house, you want to really think that through and like how you're going to connect to them because it still is an entire experience
Mhm.
to experience each of those colors and you want things to tie together in some way. And actually I recorded an episode, it's episode 21 on how to create that whole house color palette, and how we really start with that in trying to manage, even if like especially really when we are hired to do a design project, but it's not the entire house or maybe even the entire floor, but it's just the main rooms on the first floor. And so then we're dealing with some existing spaces as well that aren't going to change in color. And we've got to manage, okay, we want to change the color in here, but it needs to still like work with these other colors. And so that's the whole process. Like even when like I said, you're not experiencing these colors at the same time, you still want them to work together to play nice.
to flow. I would say generally people, clients know their style, or once you're able to identify a style, they tend to go down a certain path. Wouldn't you
Mhm.
think?
Mhm.
Things automatically kind of tie together from room to room.
Yeah. Let's get into our favorite finish combinations. So like hot takes and no-goes. Okay. Okay, so let's rapid fire some combos that we love and a few that we would retire. Okay, so from the standpoint of we want more of it, I I would say more matte black and satin brass.
I like that combo. Polished nickel and unlacquered brass.
Yeah, I like
That
that.
sounded really uncertain. Sorry.
Say it more confidently next time.
Yeah.
Um, antique bronze, which, um, yeah, I like antique bronze. I love antique brass, but antique bronze and walnut wood, and truly like probably any dark woods, dark stained woods. I could do with just about anything, I
I
think.
agree. A nice finish kind of makes up for any hardware you may or may not choose.
Right?
And I agree. The bronze, brass with a beautiful hard wood. There's some richness and probably a
Yeah,
traditional vibe that comes along
totally.
with that.
Totally.
That I think works really well
But
together.
throw in like a lot of glass and um I don't know, like I think of mirrors and um contemporary art, like abstract art, and you can swing it back the other way, like to become more modern.
I
And
agree
then it
with
still
that.
has those very traditional elements. That would be fun. Okay,
Of course, you also
let's talk.
see in traditional oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 no. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say in the traditional vibe or, aspect of the wood stains and the brass hardware, in those environments or situations, you also have a lot of silver, in a
Yes.
traditional aspect. So when you kinda work that in, you can also worm your way into another finish as well.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so let's talk about the ones that we would give a hard pass on.
Well, what about brushed nickel and a shiny chrome in the same area?
Yeah, that'd be a lot. That's almost like a bedazzled situation.
It's too reflective.
Yeah,
It's a very reflective atmosphere. Disco
yeah.
ball. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Um, mixing every finish possible. Like, you can't have them all.
I
No, you just can't. So, you gotta pick your hero.
love that. Um, and perhaps maybe a high shine with more of a farmhouse vibe, where you want a little bit more vintage inspiration. Although I can honestly see that going both ways because again, it's that um I guess having a high shine, kind of like that modern feel versus a vintage farmhouse. I don't know. I think
Which is normally that darker,
maybe like a
polish.
yeah, or that black that's a little bit more
Rubbed.
vintage.
Yeah.
Yes, rubbed bronze,
Mhm,
which
mhm.
is a mouthful to say. So, but I think a lot of these things, and we've said this before, and I know you've said it several times, can go either way depending on how it's actually put together. There's really no
Mhm.
right and wrong.
Yeah. I
Would
would
you
say
agree with
though, like
that?
just from a more general perspective, farmhouse has been overdone. Like
It's
I'm
a it's
over
a
it.
it's a thing. Yeah.
It's just too much. It's it's so retail at this point.
It
Like,
has, yeah,
a lot of the retailers, I think, have it's almost tchotchke. Like, I don't know.
I
I
agree with
just
that.
I find that it is going to end up being, very trendy, and I think that it will become the most outdated style in the future. Like, it'll be the signal that, "Oh, yeah, this house needs, like, totally just gutted and redone," because it's 100% farmhouse, and it'll end up being totally opposite of whatever the style is in the future.
Well, it's just like jumping on any trend. Eventually, it's going to transition into something else. And I think that goes back to our point too, as designers, combining those things together so that you're
Yes.
not honing in on one style that's relevant today.
Yeah, and
Yes.
overdone, and then it makes
Yeah.
it so much safer and very transitional.
And that's why I'm a firm believer in having something you love. Like go with the objects in your home that someone loves or a hobby.
Mhm.
Get that
Yeah.
under, I guess, under wraps so that you can kind of build off of it and make it more personal. And when you do that, you really can't go out of that style per se
Yeah,
because you're designing to your
it's
own
you.
taste.
Yeah, it's personal. Okay, so we asked some of our friends to submit some questions or give us some questions on this topic about mixing finishes. And so these are the ones that came to the top. So the first one is hopefully these are relevant to anyone listening as well. But can I mix stainless appliances with brass hardware? Obviously, this becomes an issue so often because most of us are going to purchase stainless steel appliances. So, what do you say, Alexis?
I say yes.
Yeah,
I think your
I think.
appliance is an entirely different entity than the hardware
Hmm.
on your
Yeah,
cabinet.
yeah, and gives you then some variety. So you don't want matchy matchy too much, anyways.
A little
Um,
personality.
yeah. How do I mix IKEA kitchen elements with vintage pieces? Which I didn't even know IKEA had kitchen
They
elements.
do. They have like a whole line of cabinetry.
For kitchens? Oh, wow.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, and you can even go on, YouTube, and it shows you how to get different elements and put it together, and I've seen some of them, and they like
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so to mix IKEA kitchen elements with vintage pieces. I mean, I don't see why that couldn't be done.
I don't see
I
that
don't
either. Yeah.
I don't know what kind of vintage pieces we're talking about, if it's like furniture that's close and around there or,
Platter.
hmm?
So maybe a platter or dishes that you would display, something accessory-wise.
Yeah.
I think regardless, you can make it work. I don't think it matters.
Yeah. Um Okay, is it okay to have black hardware in the kitchen, but brass in the bathrooms? I
Yes,
think totally. Yeah.
absolutely. Mix it up.
Yeah, why not? Okay, so mixing styles and finishes isn't about breaking rules. It's about understanding the why behind the look and building your confidence.
And always remember repetition, restraint equals beauty, which we've kind of talked about today. Pick
Yeah.
your battles and repeat with intention.
Yes. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Charm and Circumstance. And a big thanks to Alexis for coming back and co hosting today, your first episode back in 2026. I'm pumped to have you. Can't wait to have you back again.
Always a blast. Thank you for having me. And don't forget to leave a review or share it with someone who's knee deep in remodel decisions.
Awesome. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for joining me on Charm and Circumstance. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and follow along on Instagram because charm is personal and circumstance is what you make of it.